Live from Owings Mills, Maryland, it's the Max Fortune Show. Whether it's becoming a success by achieving your dreams and goals, growing your business, or unlocking your full potential, the Max Fortune Show specializes in helping you maximize your fortune. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Max Fortune Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Max Fortune Show. And this is, of course, the Max Fortune Show. And you know, it's a special kind of show today. Not only because we have a very special guest here, but today also happens to be my anniversary. And so, before we kind of get into the show, if you guys don't mind, I just
happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Happy anniversary, congratulations.
Happy anniversary.
So I just want to say happy anniversary to my lovely, lovely wife out there, who's just really ultra supportive of everything in the show. So just wanted to start the show that way.
There you go.
Again, what I usually start the show with is just kind of talking about, you know, that I'm an author, motivational speaker, business coach, publisher, and also the president and CEO of Fortune Publishing Group. And as an author of 3 books, I try to do the show around the topics that those books cover. And as always, I have my wonderful co-host here, Mr. Joe Farina. Joe's the Director of Sales and Marketing at Fortune Publishing Group. And he's also on multiple businesses, both online and offline, in the retail stores and in the sports supplement industry. He's also a highly skilled entrepreneur and personal development specialist who has worked and published his work has been published in both book and magazine form.
That's a true story.
Yeah, it is. And also today we have a good friend and special guest, Terry Smith, here. I wish we had the little applause thing there. We need to and visiting us and helping us explore her life. So, and we're going to dive into her life now as a published author, and help us discuss the details of how to write your book. So we're going to kind of focus on a couple of those things. And so I want to get in and introduce you guys properly to Terry. She's a IT specialist analyst in Maryland.
Yes.
Okay. A specialist and an analyst.
Specialist and an analyst.
All right. You're also the proud mom of 2 phenomenal children and a grandmother to a beautiful 4-year-old granddaughter.
Oh my goodness, yes, yes,
Okay.
all of that.
And so we're going to really talk a lot about Reckless Confidence, which is Terry's first book. And it took some time adjusting to the idea that she is now an author. But she's excited about fulfilling the purpose that God had already ordained for her life. And Terry has a love for people, and God's blessed her with a joy in her heart and naturally falls on anyone who's around her. It's also her desire that others see the light of Jesus through her, and I think that's very easy to do just with meeting and talking to her at any moment.
And I just have to say, we had a lot of fun before the show. She's a great guest.
I agree.
Thank you.
Great person, and it says in your prayers that that your book, through God's anointing power, will touch, heal, and save lives.
Yes.
And I think that anybody who does get her book and read about it, and as we're going to go through the show, you'll see just how powerful her testimony is. And you also never thought about writing. You thought you would ever write a book.
Never, not on my radar at all.
So, but it was through God who you helped to write this book, and it sounds like you discovered your healing in the words as you begin to put your pages together.
Yes.
So, Mrs. Terry thought she was entirely healed from these past events, but God showed you differently.
Yes.
And so Reckless Confidence was written, says it was written 17 years after he began to live a drug-free life.
Yes.
And it's her greatest expectation that through this book that you will discover that restoration and deliverance are available to anyone and everyone at any time. Terry can testify that it's never too late to turn your life around, experience the supernatural joy of God, and realize everything is possible with Him. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it sounds like you're already contemplating another book, which would be the sequel to Reckless Confidence. And,
Yeah.
All right.
Terry's really enthusiastic about sharing her life experiences, so stay tuned for that book as well. So,
And you know what time it is. The Max Fortune Show is recorded live. Show has calls coming in from viewers. listeners, we welcome viewers to comment and ask questions online, going to the Facebook page, Ask Max Fortune, and just comment in there, and you can join the conversation with us
online, going to the Facebook.
during the show by calling 844-417-4177 to talk to myself, Max, and Terry, and you can also email here at maxfortuneshow@gmail.com.
That's right.
So
Max
get
Fortune
calling,
Show at
get
Gmail.
commenting.
That's right. Like us, subscribe to the page. We definitely like it when you do that, right?
Yes, and don't forget, the best commenter or caller today is going to win a 3 days, 2 fun-filled nights to a destination of your choice. There's a whole bunch of different destinations you could choose from, and that is compliments of the Max Fortune Show. So go on a vacation on us.
There you go.
Can I call in?
Yeah,
So again, definitely call. You have the number out there. We definitely like callers to call in on the show. So what I'm going to do is today we're going to be focusing on how to write a book, or how to write your book. And so that's going to be the kind of the focus of this theme today. And so what we're going to get into right now is we're going to actually start with you, Terry. We're going to actually find out what inspired you to write your book, or to write a book.
Actually, this book was received to me through a prophetic word. A young lady who I didn't know or who didn't know me. We just happened to run into each other at work. And basically, long story short, she gave me a word from the Lord. I began to tell her about some things in my life and different things. And she said, yeah, I can't wait to read it. And I said, read what? And she said, your book. And I said, what book? And she said, I'm just telling you what I hear God saying. So I told her, I'm like, well, I've never written a book in my life. But then like a minute later, I saw it in the spirit. And I told her, I said, if God says I can write a book, then I can write it.
Wow.
That's how it got started. And she ended up being my mentor as well.
Wow.
Yes.
So Terry, what was your process to get your book written and completed?
It was hard for me to start at first because I'm on the computer all day long. So when it came the end of the day, when I got off work, the last thing I wanted to do was be on the computer.
Right.
So I struggled with it for a while. But what I did was I dedicated my Saturday mornings when I didn't have any events to attend to just getting up, getting my coffee, not going in the living room and turning the TV on, and just sat and I started to write. What I basically did in the beginning was to just begin to write, but to get a timeline first. Like try to think of, depending on what you're writing about, you have to kind of line up, you know, your timeline and just start from there. I mean, that's what editors are for.
Right,
So don't be nervous in, are you doing it right or wrong? Just write. And the most important thing is to just bow your head and pray and ask the Lord and the Holy Spirit to help you to write.
You know what, there's 2 things I want to kind of focus on with what you said, and one of those things was you got up in the morning, you had a designated time to write.
Yes.
And we talk about that on the show. When it comes to writing or publishing a book, you definitely want to make sure you have a time. Then you also mentioned a place, because the importance of that is having a time that your mind knows, okay, this is my writing time.
Yeah.
Even letting people, friends and family know, hey, listen, this is my writing time, whether it's the morning, it's afternoon, it's evening, whatever that time is, or it's the weekend for people who do work. You have to, you know, set the expectation for your friends and family and let them know, okay, hey, this is my time for writing. Please give me that time. It was an hour or 2. But then the second part of that is having the right place. Because if you just feel like your writing is going to come to you at any place, it usually isn't. So usually if you set aside a place and say, hey, this is where I'm going to do my writing.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before, but I wrote my whole first book in the back of a truck behind the bowling alley on in Ramsden up here.
Wow.
And but every morning, it was from 7 to 8:30. I would, just sat there and, wrote for an hour and a half every day. But that was my place, away from everything. Phone was off. I didn't have any other distractions or disturbances. So that's how I got through my first book.
Right.
See, I always get the story mixed up. I always think it was a minivan And I get the image of you sitting behind a bowling alley in the backseat of a minivan, writing your book for hours on end. And so it's a truck.
It was a truck. It was
a truck.
like a Toyota Sequoia. It was like the little, not the 4Runner, but it's
Yeah. Okay.
But again, the most important thing, the takeaway is that time and place is super critical. It's important because if you're thinking your writing's just going to come to you anytime, any place, it usually isn't. And for so many people who are waiting for the right time or place to happen, it just never happens. It's just never going to happen. So, was it difficult to write about and kind of relive your past? I know that's difficult for a lot of people, and it's kind of hard to write about things that happened already.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, because the book is funny and it's sad, and you'll experience a lot of emotions when you read it. The funny thing is, once you start writing and you really get in the groove, then you can't stop.
Yeah.
So I found it hard to stop sometimes, but some of the events that I thought I had dealt with, and maybe they bothered me in a way and I didn't realize why. And then when I began to write, and it was a section about my daughter, and when I was typing it, I actually the tears just started flowing. And I just realized how devastated I was and how I had not forgiven myself for that yet. And she's forgiven me. We're great. We're fine. I mean, God just supernaturally made us the best mother and daughter team ever.
Wow.
So, but I realized through writing, those parts of that book that I had to stop. I couldn't even finish typing. So I believe I even mentioned in the book that I was crying at that time. So, but it's also a healing, because
Right.
when you know that something needs to be healed and you know that God can help you with it, that's when it happens.
And that's kind of what's coming to be. I mean, it just sounds like that release. I mean, just so many people kind
Yes,
of pent up
yes,
things and
yes.
have things pent up, and it's kind of, when you just get that out, it really
Yes.
is that final thing that can help you just move forward. And
No
just,
question. No
yeah,
question.
So Terry, what part of the whole process affected you the most, mentally and emotionally, kind of going back?
That was
in
the
that whole
part
process?
with
just
my
the actual...
daughter. It was the part with my daughter. And I think also on the flip side, on the positive side, it was the part where I wrote about my deliverance from drugs. And actually what really happens is when you get near the end or you get completed, it's an overwhelming feeling of, how you did it. It's like, I wrote a book. I can't believe I wrote a book. I've always enjoyed English and spelling and things like that. And I've often helped people with their writing, just not knowing, it's a gift from God. Everything that I do is a gift. But I didn't realize how much it was going to help me one day, that my ability, to write things grammatically correct and to spell things correct and to write with feeling and to just be myself. And I think that's very important when you write your book as well. Be yourself.
Right.
Because when people read it, whether they know you or not, they enjoy it more.
Right. You know what? So I think we're kind of what I want to almost circle back for the many people out there who may not have read the book. Let's talk about what is that book. What is your book about? Can we give a kind of like a brief synopsis of what your book is about and why people should actually go out and get that book?
Yes, the book is basically my testimony about being out on drugs, being on crack for 15 years of my life, raising 2 kids while I was doing it, or the lack thereof, and different things that I did that almost I couldn't believe as I was writing it. I was like another person. So the purpose of the book is for when people read it, it can be the drug addict himself or herself, it can be a friend, it could be a parent, it could be anyone that's trying to understand, that addiction, because addiction is a disease. It's nothing that you can just say, oh, I'll quit tomorrow. It is a spiritual thing for spiritual people. Some people use NA. Everybody has a different way. But the most important thing I can say about addiction is there's a difference between deliverance and abstinence.
Wow.
When you are delivered from it, it's gone. But when it's abstinence, you're basically abstaining, that can work.
Right.
It's, towards the individual. But and it being a deliverance, it's not on your shoulder anymore. Like NA is like once an addict, always an addict, which is fine. But me, I know I'm no longer an addict. I know that the Lord delivered me from that. So I'm not a recovering addict because I'm not an addict anymore.
Amen.
So if you want to read something that'll make you laugh, something that'll make you cry, something that'll put your mouth open like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. This is the book for you. It's a quick read. It pulls you in. So kind of once you read it, people can read it in a day.
and you know what? I want to jump in and say that it's always different. I could say that your book definitely, your story really does capture people's attention, and the way the book was written, it just was written in a way that it does pull people in. You do get engaged in the story, and you find you're finding that we're watching this, going on this journey with you through your eyes.
Yes.
And I think it definitely takes the reader on a journey. So if you can get this book, I think the important thing is if you are struggling, a lot of times people don't know how really the forgiveness, or being that forgiveness piece, is really for the people that your life touches, and you touch so many people, and just a lot of times people don't really see how they impact others when they're really going through an addiction. They really don't focus on how much what they do affects other people. There are people who really love them, and a lot of times those are the people who get impacted the most.
Right.
The people who have that love. So I think your book kind of also is a way for people to understand the person who is addicted and going through that.
Yes.
Anybody who's been addicted and wants to get an idea of how your life is affecting the people around you. The book is great for that as well.
Right. And I mean, it's the message of hope. I mean, that's what it is when you're, and like you said, when you're hurting other people, actually, when you're not high is when you know everything. And that's why it's a vicious cycle, because when you're sober, all you can feel is the pain and the embarrassment of things that you do to people, like, oh my God, I'm turning my back on my kids, or I'm stealing from my mom, or I'm doing this, and then that pain is so significant and so devastating, all you want to do is get high again. So that it's like a revolving door, so some kind of way, somebody or something has to stop that door. And most of the time, I mean, the saying is, you're sick of being sick. So, but everybody gets to that point. And even on the night that I asked God to deliver me from it, the enemy was still saying, nope, I've thrown my stuff in the trash can, I've gone back to get it out of the trash can. So there's just so much, but the book basically is to give hope to people, and to let people know, whether you know God or not, that He is there for you. He loves you. You don't have to be saved. You should be saved. You don't have to believe, but God is there. And He loves the non-believer as much as He loves the believer. We're all His children, everyone. So He's always there. He'll take you as you are. I'm speaking from experience.
So that kind of segues right into kind of my next question to you is, you probably kind of talked about, but how did you come up with the title, Reckless Confidence? How did you come up with that?
Well, that is such an awesome thing, because I wrote down, probably, without exaggerating, probably 50 titles, just as they came to me. And I'm so sorry I can't quote it, but I was in my room one night, and I just happened to be reading the Word, and I was in Proverbs, and I believe it's Proverbs 14 and 16, and it just spoke of a fool does this, and something about the reckless confidence. So when I read Reckless Confidence, and it was in the New Living Translation, I felt something in my spirit, and I said, oh my God, and I knew that God had given me the title of my book. And I said, okay, God, I get the reckless part. What's the confidence part? I had to think about it, and I was so confident that nobody knew about my life, and nobody did for a long time, because I was so good, at, being in that world. I had just kind of perfected it to where I was so good during the day, nobody knew what I was doing at night, until it eventually caught up with me. So that's how I came up with that. God gave it to me, short story.
How did you come up with the cover?
Actually, another spiritual story, Max, who used to be in my first Bible study group at my old church. I gave everyone a book called Jesus Calling, very popular book. And he just happened to call me, not happened, nothing, happens by mistake in the spiritual world. There's no coincidences. And he just texted me and said, Terry, I just want you to know I'm still reading your Jesus Calling, and it really helps me every day. In some kind of way, we just got into a conversation. I told him about my book. He asked me, could he do the cover? And I said, okay, sure. And I mean, basically, the rest is history.
I did not know that.
Yes.
You know what? And this is the actual book we're talking about. You probably could have seen it here, but it's one of Reckless Confidence, and it's actually kind of showing her in her office setting by day and by night.
Out in the hood.
Yes, sir. And this is, you know what? We focus on books and publishing and how to get your book out there. And so talk about how the publishing process was for you.
Okay. God, literally and supernaturally placed Max back in my life after, I went to his wedding in Puerto Rico, and I think it had been a couple years since we had even communicated. But when God bonds people, there is no time between love and, communication. So as we continued to talk, because I already knew you did, the financial things and business things, but I never knew he was a publisher. So once he began to do the cover, we started talking about publishing. He made it really easy for me. He did all the work. He explained everything step by step, simplistically, which really helps. Because when you're explaining things on your level, or, somebody can give you an example, like this is a bottle of water. You don't want to say, oh, well, the manufacturer of this bottle of water. You want to say, this is the bottle of water. So that is the way you explain things to me. And then I was presented options, because there's always going to be finances involved. I didn't know that I would even be able to afford to have a book published. But when you can work things out for me, it happened to be when I got my income taxes, I'm telling you, God just orchestrated everything. He orchestrated everything. And, I had an option of what to do. Within that option, there are options. So anybody can do it. Max can help you publish your book, cover your book, coach you through your book. I did have another coach, a mentor, the woman Cynthia Rawls, who prophesied the book into my life. But after that, it was all Max.
I didn't pay her for that.
And I'm not saying that because I'm here. It's really true. It's really true.
So Terry, how does it feel now being a published author?
It's weird because I can say the novelty wore off, but when it's presented to me again, the novelty comes back, because the book, I did write it a couple years ago, but I'm still selling it. One day the Holy Spirit showed me my to and from page filled up with names. So it has also become a pay it forward book. So if you read the book and your friend Karen is struggling with drugs, then you put to Karen from whoever you are. Karen will read it. Karen will get delivered. Karen will find a friend that's struggling or a parent that's struggling, and she'll put to that person from Karen. And the Holy Spirit showed me that whole page. So, I love to sell the book. I love the money, but I am more into it helping someone than to make the money. So if you buy a book, you don't have to buy 20 for 20 people. You can buy 19. So, no, but you can pay the book forward. But if you want to have it for yourself and keep it and get someone else a copy, that's also
You know
a
what,
good deal.
I did want to say, actually, let's talk about where people can even get a copy of your book. Where can people get your book?
I do have the website. It's www.authorterrysmith.com. Also, you could just you can email me from there. I think I have a special phone number, but I don't know it because I haven't used it. I'm sorry. But I can give my number,
Yeah, go ahead.
and you can call me on that number, and it is 410.
I think you have,
Yeah.
this is your 443-842?
Yes.
No, that's,
No, that's you.
Yeah.
I have it, but you can call me at 410-660-6113, or you can email me at Terry, Terry, V as in Veronica, 731 @gmail.com. Basically, I do have some books in my possession, and what I do is just mail them out myself. So it'll be $10 plus shipping and handling.
wow.
Okay?
Well, since we're doing the phone numbers, you can call us at 844-417-4177, extension 1902, to talk to the wonderful Terry, Max, and of course me over here.
And let us know if you have any questions for Terry,
Absolutely.
again, about getting delivered. You have a family member who might need to be delivered, or it might be yourself, or you want to get a copy of the book, or you want to talk about publishing or getting published. Again, we welcome all questions or comments. Again, if you don't even want to call into the show, maybe you just want to comment in, and we can see those comments right here on the screen, and we'll really respond to your comments that way. So, again, just we welcome that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one lucky commenter or caller is going to win, again, 3 days, 2 exciting, fun-filled nights, vacation of your choice. You've got a lot of different options to choose from, compliments of the Max Fortune Show.
Very nice. Very nice.
Awesome.
Yes, yes.
So the Terry, do you want to give us a preview of? We talked about your second book that you have a second. book
Yes,
on.
the sneak preview. Well, you have to give us something, Terry.
Actually, the sequel actually to The Reckless Confidence, there's going to be kind of like a prequel sequel, like they do the movies these days. So, but what I'm thinking about for my next book is after I got clean, and the things that happened, how I grew spiritually, and the men that I've encountered in my life. And, you know, because with addiction, even when you're delivered, it is a behavior. Addiction is not about the drugs or the gambling or, you know, whatever it is that's your choice to do. It's about a behavior that's inside of you. And normally it's people are looking for things that are already inside of them. I mean, God has given us everything. And when, you know, people are searching to do things, they're trying to fill a void. And God fills all our voids. So people do things to fill voids. I mean, it may not even seem like, I mean, even when you cannot even put your phone down for a minute, it's an addiction, you know. So once you learn, you know, how to cope with that, I mean, a couple of nights, it sounds weird and it's, you know, it's really insignificant, but back when there was Blockbuster, if there was a movie that a Blockbuster didn't have, I mean, I went around to like 6 Blockbusters.
Wow.
And I wasn't getting high. It's a behavior. And then once I'm like, what are you doing? You know, so, but as you grow and as you grow in the things of God and begin to grow spiritually, those things get conquered because you realize what you're doing, and then you know, time in life is precious. I mean, I don't know if it's okay to talk about, but these things that are going on today with these opioids, and I mean, a 10-year-old just died the other day. They don't even know how he came in contact with it. So this thing, it's about life and death. You know, you don't want to play with your life. It's only God that kept me, you know. And when you read the book, you'll wonder why I didn't end up in jail or why I'm not dead. I mean, I actually OD'd one night. I didn't even know I OD'd. You know, I actually, what part I left out is I had to call people sometimes to jog my memory, because I would kind of remember something and then I wouldn't. So in talking to people, if you're writing about your life, because I mean, we're talking, I was in my 30s, you know, and I'll be 58 at the end of this month. Yay!
Wow.
God's given me 58 years, you know. But we all have this purpose to fulfill, and until you do it, you're not going anywhere.
I agree. And you know what, we have somebody special watching Cynthia. You mentioned Cynthia Rawls, and
Okay.
Cynthia has said she's so excited for her sister, for her book, and where God has taken her. So she's commented on the show.
Wow.
So Cynthia, thanks for
Thank you,
for your
Cynthia.
comments, and you know what, I hope that her book is doing well. I know that
Yes, it is.
Cynthia, we worked on a cover for her book, and
Yeah.
so hopefully that's doing well for you as well. And then also Sandy Forrester, thanks for commenting in.
Oh, thank you.
This is, she's actually, sounds like she's a friend of the producer maybe, I don't know.
She's
but she
my
says-
best friend.
And she said, great job, and God is with her today. So
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Yes, he is.
So again, we definitely love the comments, comment on the show. We definitely appreciate you commenting in. Give us a call if you do have some questions for Terry, Joe, or myself. Again, we love to interact with people who are watching the show. So again, thank you for those comments from Cynthia and Sandy.
Thank you so much.
So Terry, what advice would you give to a new writer? And before you answer that, I have to tell you, when you mentioned Blockbuster, you had me thinking how far we've come, because I remember going to Blockbuster or what place called West Coast Video,
Yep.
and it was VHS,
Yes,
and even Betamax. Well, VHS,
I don't know. That was before my time. There were
Really?
DVDs when I went.
I remember you did the movie, you had to rewind it, you
Yes. Oh
and
my
look how
God.
far we've
Yeah.
come now.
Gosh,
Yeah.
you got Netflix now.
Yeah,
I mean, now you get a little USB
Yeah.
and stick it in your computer.
When you're saying going from Blockbuster to Blockbuster to Blockbuster, I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
it's
well, who
crazy.
does that anymore?
I know. It was a long ago.
So what advice would you give to a new writer out there?
Even though I am a 100% spiritual person, I always keep in mind people who may not be there yet, or just people who are good people, bad people, whatever kind of people you are. Everyone has a book inside of them. This is something my pastor has preached. Just want to do a shout out to Set the Captives Free, my church home, where is responsible for 100% of my growth as I continue to grow there. But that church and my pastor has impacted my life tremendously. But you know, it's about, everybody has a story. If you don't think you can write, you can do it. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. So there's nothing impossible. If you feel led or if you don't feel led, there's always the opportunity to do so. Writing a book was nowhere on my radar. I had never even thought about writing a book. And it is just a wonderful sense of accomplishment. So I would say, if you have a story, just start writing. I don't care if you write a sentence a day. There's no time limit on how long it takes to write a book. Some people it takes 5 years. Some people it takes 5 months. It depends. So, but if you feel like you have a story, if you feel like, oh, I couldn't do that, you can do it. You can definitely do it. So just be positive, optimistic about your life. Choose joy. That's very important. God is awesome. You'll be amazed at all the supernatural things that he can do in your life, no matter where you are. I want to tell you so bad how it worked for me, but I would ruin the book if I did. But since then, he just continues and continues to just show me things through the Holy Spirit. You know, things that I think that, you know, aren't important, or nah, I'm not qualified for that. And I've been reminded so much often lately that people who are unqualified are the ones that God uses.
Mm.
So never put yourself down. Okay.
You know what? I think that's definitely awesome, and you just never know what you can do, what can be done.
Well said.
This is a great segue. And you know what? I'm kind of watching a lot of love across the screen, so we thank you, everybody who's liking the page and sending hearts out to you for those comments.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, everyone who's doing that. You know, writing a book can be difficult, but doesn't have to be, and that's one of the main reasons why we do the show, to give people information that can help them kind of get their book out there. And like you said, I mean, as long as you just start, I mean, so many people are just waiting to get their book going and waiting for the right time, the perfect time, and you know what, the right time is never going to show up. It's just never going to happen. You just have to start.
Gotta do it now.
You got to start today, even if it's just a sentence, a paragraph.
Right.
If you need some guidance, I mean, we definitely welcome the calls. The same number you're calling, the 844-417-4177. You can dial either extension 1900 or you can get 1901. Get Joe. He'll kind of talk you through how to get that book together.
Absolutely.
And so either one of us will be able to help you with getting your book done. And that's really what we're really passionate about. And a lot of times we can help you get your book done in 90 days. So that's one of the things that we do, because we actually have an entire team of people that help work on your book, even coaching. So we can even coach you through that. So
It's really amazing if you think about going from literally just maybe an idea or a thought to a finished product in 90 days.
yeah.
It's amazing.
So, you know, it's with the right coach. I mean, it's kind of like people get personal trainers and get people to help them coach them through the process. You can get a coach helping you coach you through your book. And that's one of the things that I really specialize in is helping people get their book out of them and doing it in a way that's quickly, that's in 90 days. So
Yeah. And Max, there's some important things to the process, and one of them is enjoying the journey, would you say?
Right. Exactly. Definitely enjoying the journey is really an important part. Because you definitely have to enjoy the journey. So the
Set aside a reasonable time frame.
setting aside a reasonable time frame is fine. Checking the camera is fine. Sometimes, you know.
I always want to check the camera.
Yeah.
Checking the camera is probably, in the process, the most important thing. And you can use the camera to write. It's one of those things where you're talking to your camera and you check. And then you can focus on the finish.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Good thing to read. Get out and socialize. That's always a important part of the process. You don't want to get bogged down with just obsessing over the book continuously. You got to take a mental break, get out, socialize, say hello, talk to wonderful Terry, and have a great time, right?
Correct. And you know what, the socializing piece is really, really important. It's really important. And staying engaged.
Right.
You know?
Staying engaged is good. Working daily. It's important to eliminate distractions so you can stay focused on the task at hand.
Yes, that can go for everyone.
And get feedback early and often, right?
Right. Feedback.
Yeah, you've got to have feedback because it's good.
So, I'm sorry. We just like to, doing a show like this is always very, very interesting.
It's the fun part. It's a fun part of the live process. It's what I enjoy the most. It's live. It is what it is. It's life. It's the process. Then this comes up in almost everything you're trying to create. In writing a book, there's certain things that just come up that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
And you know what? You just work through it. You smile. You have fun, and you make it work because you're doing it with the servant's heart. And there's a bigger picture at play.
Yes.
So very good.
That's right. So, also, as far as kind of getting back to the book production, you kind of said something really at the top of the show. And you were talking about having that outline. And one of the things that we focus a lot on is if you're writing your book, you're putting your book together, focusing on an outline before you even get into the book is almost super critical. A lot of times you almost can't just go at writing a book by just going in and writing, expecting everything to flow. You almost want to give that structure to the points and topics that you want to cover. And so outline is like super important to getting your book done, so that you just don't meander or flounder around with with ideas, or your ideas are not conclusive, or they're not consecutive. So I think that that's
I always feel like, and I'm sure you might agree, you might not, but I always feel the difference there, that's the difference between journaling and writing as an author. Journaling, you can do that. You're journaling all the way, you have nothing planned, you're just journaling your thoughts as they come in. But when you're creating something, that's like having that blueprint, that roadmap, that outline is so critical to getting a clear message across.
Yeah.
And
also completing the process.
So, yeah, and kind of having why you're writing your book, is really important to kind of know that when you're going in, that it should be that attention-grabbing introduction is really important, and where you're starting that book off and getting people into your subject matter. I think you do that really well with the book that you had, that you wrote, and so that part is really, really critical. And then also introducing topics and benefits, like the what will they gain from reading your book. And that's why I wanted you to tell people about the summary and of your book, and as you're putting your book together, you definitely want to make sure you're focusing on what people are going to get out of it, and really what are the benefits for them, what's in it for them. Why are they going to take the time to sit there and read your book? And so as you're writing, having these thoughts in mind, it's really important to do that. And one of the other things is really even telling readers how they can get the most out of the experience, out of whatever experience you're writing about in your book, is also some of the important things, So as you're putting the book together, make sure you're really encompassing all of those things, those important elements when it comes to putting your book together.
Yeah, and you have your body of the book, the chapters, conclusion, all the way to final thought.
Right.
And you want to be thinking to answer those most frequently asked questions on your topic. That if somebody's going to be asking you, what are some of those questions they're going to ask, and then answer those questions. So it's...
One of the other things that I think is very, very interesting when it comes to book, and I think you did this very, very well, when it comes to writing your book, is tell stories. People like stories. As a matter of fact, people remember stories more than they remember facts. So telling stories is so important. If you're really trying to get a point across by telling it or having it illustrated through a story, that's one of the best ways to have people remember characters, remember things, because people remember stories. But facts not so much, or not as much. So,
and I could tell, because this is the first time I've actually ever met Terry, I could tell what a great writer she is just by the conversations we had before the show and the story she was telling me. And I think that's what makes a really just a great writer is like you're writing to that one person, right? You're writing to that one person, whatever it is, and you're speaking with a clear, concise, well thought out message, answering those questions. And so if you think about writing a book like a conversation.
Yes, it is. And sometimes when you write something, you'll get to another part farther down, and you'll be like, oh, that's right. And then you just go back to that page and fill it in. So a lot of things happen while you're writing the book that will inspire you to continue to write it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm actually just wondering if you have any stories, or we're talking about stories here, or jokes that you tell to every client. If so, is any of this information can help fill a book? I don't really know.
Yeah, who's telling the story, me, you, or Joe?
Terry, what is the funniest thing that happened to you? I know that this, obviously the information that you're writing about and what you've written about and what you're talking about has a very serious message to it.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But what is the funniest thing that's happened to you through the whole process of becoming an author? Is there one thing that jumps out at you? Is there experience? Is it this show? It could be this show.
The part of it. I just have to say real quick about the show. There was like a week, probably a year ago, when I had a lot of books that were still sitting in my closet. And I didn't know at the time, but the Holy Spirit was telling me, I verbally said it out loud, God, I know you have other plans for that book. Because it wasn't like I was worried about, it's like I wasn't worried about how many books I had left, even though a lot have gone since then. But it was the fact that God let me know I'm not finished with it yet. And here I am on your show totally something else that was never on my radar, So, but I think the funniest comment I got probably was from my daughter when she was like, Mommy, I can actually hear you. Like when she was reading it, because she's my daughter. So when she read it, she could actually hear me saying the book. And I thought that was pretty funny. I really enjoyed that. And my son he's a closet clown. But he said, Ma, I don't read. Can you put it on tape? So, yeah. So those are a couple of the funny things that happened. Maybe only funny to me.
Well, again, I just want to throw this out there because I always like to add this in, Max. 3 days, 2 fun-filled nights to a vacation of your choice. To the best caller or commenter at 844-417-4177, extension 1902, or comment on Facebook, and you could win compliments of the Max Fortune Show.
There you go.
This fun-filled vacation.
So call in right now. We only have 14 minutes left.
That's it. I know. 14 minutes to go.
The number to call in is 844-417-4177, extension 1902. So if you call in right now, you have a chance to grab those vacation tickets. You have a great question for Terry, for myself, or Joe. Again, we'd love to give you one of those vouchers.
And if you want to go a little old school, you can do maxfortuneshow@gmail.com.
There you go.
And our producer will be able to get us the information promptly.
There you go. And again, comment again. We like that. We're seeing some more love come across the screen, so we like that when that happens. Some more likes and all of those kind of things, so really good.
Awesome.
So we're going to keep the show moving as we're kind of coming to our end. We try to really focus on bringing you really good and valuable information, and we talked about, we try to focus on some of the things that when it comes to elements of your book, and one of those things is also organizing your topics. So making sure that you, what you need to know, titles of each chapter, the premise or big idea of each chapter, the main points, supporting facts, or steps you intend to write about in each chapter is really, really important. So
yeah, and why you need a plan, because with a plan, you're more likely to be able to actually immediately get started writing.
That's where the
And
coach
as you
comes
start,
in.
then the next chapter comes. It's creating that momentum process.
I mean, I don't think I could have, it would have been a lot harder for me without my mentor, Cynthia Rawls. We met once a month. She actually gave me homework.
Wow.
So she would say, well, I need you to do this, have this done by the next time. Nothing strict or, like it's if you didn't do it, it was going to end. But
like
it just,
right,
like you guys are talking about, it just gives you structure, and that structure always helps. Especially once you really start getting into
It engages your brain. It really locks you in. It gets you focused.
Yeah.
And then that creativity can come out.
Exactly.
Right?
So you know what? There's a lot of high-tech things that get you organized these days. But you know
what? A
what?
lot of high-tech.
Yeah. A lot of high-tech.
And the higher the tech, the more issues you might have.
That's very true. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to talk to you about some low-tech.
We're going low-tech?
Low-tech. Low-tech ideas for organizing your topics.
The old hand-turned pencil sharpener.
I don't think that's on here. But sketches are on.
Not going that low-tech?
Hand-drawn sketching. We're showing off the sequence of the topics that you want to write. So again, you can just, as a low-tech tool, is just taking out a pen and piece of paper, That's low-tech. It doesn't get more low-tech than that. But organizing your ideas by writing them down manually, in that kind of thing, showing off the sequence of events, is a good way of organizing your topics. So
yeah, after sketching everything out, you can actually break that down into lists and outlines and start to get a clear picture of some of the key points that you want in your chapter.
Again, agree with that, and some of the ways to do that is even using index cards.
Yes.
The old index cards.
They're amazing. They really
I
are.
remember in second grade, I had index cards spelling bees were big when I was a kid in school, and I was so bad at it. I'd have index cards to try to figure it out. I always got knocked out, usually in the first or second round.
Sorry.
All right, enough of this depressing story here.
So, other than that, also sticky notes are a great way to kind of build on ideas, sketches, by providing things that you want to identify. And again, they can move from one page to the next as you're kind of organizing the topics that you want to discuss. So, again, these are some low-tech ideas on how you can kind of organize your book or your ideas for your book. So hopefully those are some things that you kind of wrote down, took some notes. And before I want to say, we have another, actually there's a Bernard Blackman. It says, congratulations, Terry. So another comment. So again, we love the comments, so
Thank you,
please continue to
Bernard.
comment on the show. Bernard, thanks for commenting in.
Yes,
And,
Bernard, thank you.
Yeah.
He's one of my coworkers in my C-Fire at work. It's a Christian fundamentalist internal revenue employee.
Wow.
So we're a praying bunch of people and a God-serving bunch of people. So thank you, Bernard. It was awesome.
So Max, for those tech-savvy individuals out there that are into the software, internet-based organizing tools, what are some of those advantages? I know that some of the primary advantages, you can organize your ideas easily, obviously. I know I have different apps on my phone. You can export your work to different Word.
Yeah, and I think that's so, that for the people who are just...
That's the next step up from the number 2 pencil and,
Right,
and the
I think it's a couple of steps up from that. But I mean, everybody's got a phone in their hand these days.
That's true.
And so having these, there's a lot of apps, and one app I use a lot, Color Note, or a couple of these note apps that you can just do it. And I tell you what's really, really cool about some of these apps for phones today is almost everybody has the ability to just talk into them. It's just
Oh, the
a
microphone, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and use the dictaphone or just kind of dictate your book. I mean, for some people really have a problem writing. So a really good way of using a tool that you have in your hand right now is to just start putting your ideas in voice memos.
I am notorious for thinking much faster than I can type. I can only do about 4 words a minute with my one finger. If I do 2 fingers, I get up to about 8 words a minute.
8 words a minute?
I'm like...
And that's how I wrote my book. I actually typed it. I really didn't write anything other than my outline. Or I did all typing.
Wow.
It's a lot easier for me.
Well, mine was very, very low tech. My first book was very low tech. I literally hand wrote everything.
Was that the
And then
one
I
in the
had to-
back of your truck?
In the back of the truck. I literally hand wrote
In the
that.
van down by the river?
The story's getting more...
Alligator
more colorful.
circling.
But some of the other tools, you can have Microsoft Word. Everyone has
Yeah.
a computer with Word, some kind of word processor. Those are really great, which is what you had kind of said you kind of did your book on. So that's another tech tool that you can work on to give your information. So that's good.
Yeah. There's even drawing programs out there. There's a lot of different programs. There's so much technology out there between your mobile phone and stuff you can find on your computer to help you organize, help you create. It's really getting in that creative mode.
Yeah, I think that things like mind maps and mind mapping.
You love mind mapping.
Yeah.
The only problem with my mind is it gets really drawn out. It looks...
Well, listen, I know how you like
It's-
to really kind of definitely outline everything, and that's good because sometimes the more you break down your ideas and your topics, it sometimes gives you clarity. And one of the tools and techniques we talk about when we do our coaching is we really tell people how to not just outline that book, which has got the first 12 chapters, but how you write 10 or 12 points in each one of those that you want to discuss and talk about, and then write on those subjects. And now you just really have you're spending an hour just kind of writing on that particular subject at a time. So that's a really great way of getting that book out of your mind and your head and onto paper or into print. So
Can I throw a little thing in?
You can throw more than a little thing. Terry, you've been a fantastic guest.
Thank you. What really works for me, and I use it in my everyday life, when you're writing and you find yourself repeating the same word, you know, over and over, highlight it, right click, and put synonyms. And it is a wonderful way to reword, and sometimes it doesn't mean the exact same thing. So that helps a lot when you're writing a whole book and you find yourself saying, you know, niche, 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 and then you just, when you do that, you'll have a whole list or a thesaurus, if you're way back old school, open the
and you know what? And they have the thesaurus on those Word programs. So
Exactly.
there's so many different ways. I mean, there's really no way. But you know, I want to get to Bernard Blackman has a tip. He says, any tips about after the writing and how to market without a large budget?
That's a
Wow.
great question, and that's a big part of it.
Bernard just wrote a book. So,
Did he really?
Yes, great
Wow.
book.
Congratulations, Bernard, on your book. You should call us in to the show and we can talk about your book or see what it's about. But as far as tips after writing, I mean, marketing is something that that you have to constantly be doing, looking for different outlets, ways to tie your book or your message into things that you're seeing out there in social media or in the news or whatever, and seeing if your book or your topic ties into that. Also trying to find venues where you can speak about your book, local organizations, schools, any place that you can, churches, any place that you can kind of get your message out there. And a lot of times what happens as authors, we kind of write the book and we kind of move on to the next thing and we kind of forget about working on that one project. And so the wonderful thing about books is they don't die. They're you know, they stay alive, and as long as you work them and keep them alive, your words won't die. So that's my point. It would be to continue to find places that your book fits, find audiences to get in front of with your book, find ways to reach new people with your book. I think is really, really important. So
I think if you go from the mindset, especially if you don't have a large budget, if you just go from the end game, and the end game is to get that message in front of other people, and then you can just go back and make a list of the ways that you can do that with the resources that you have. Some people have a large social media following. Some people are connected to, their members of the Rotary clubs or different organizations, members of churches. And when you don't have a large budget, what you do have, and we talk about this, you need to have time or money or both. So if you don't have the large budget, it's going to take some time. It's like Terry coming on the show here today. This is putting in the work that you need to do to get those messages out there. So that's my advice is really, Bernard, is to make a list of the different organizations, different groups that you can get in front of the largest amount of people, and just start really doing that organic marketing of just letting people know that you're an author, letting people know that you have a book at every single turn.
And I can say I didn't actually have the time to spend, but I actually, because my book is drug related, one of the first things I did was to Google rehab centers. NA does not take the book because you have to be a member of NA, so that kind of didn't work, but I did call a lot of places because they have groups where they sit around and they talk about recovering and different things like that, so that was one of the avenues.
There's some other, I just thought of this now, there's organizations like Toastmasters, which is a speaking and leadership organization, where you actually are in a group and you're able to obviously present that you're an author, speak about different topics. And I also know an author friend of mine who really got the message out about his book predominantly by going to Rotary clubs. And they're always looking for speakers, always looking for different people to contribute content during their lunch breaks usually, or in between their meetings. And he went literally from Rotary club meeting to Rotary club meeting to Rotary club meeting to Rotary club meeting. And that was really how he started to get the message out on his book.
So, you know, we want to thank Bernard for that question.
Thank you, Bernard.
And you know what, Bernard, we're going to actually ask you to email the show, Max Fortune Show, email the producer of the show at maxfortuneshow@gmail.com. And Bernard, I think maybe he gets the...
yes, because that, Bernard, that was a really value-driven question. So I vote you are the winner of the 3 exciting days, 2 fun-filled nights, vacation, compliments of the Max Fortune Show. Congratulations, Bernard. Thank you for contributing. Such a great question.
Yeah, so just make sure we get your information by going to emailing your name, phone number, and email address, and your actual physical address, so we can actually physically mail you this voucher to maxfortuneshow@gmail.com. And so as I'm closing the show out, we're closing out the show, I also want to really put out there that what we do at Fortune Publishing Group is really help people get their book, their message out there. There's so many people who have a message, so many people have a book that they want to get into print. And so we have a couple of free webinars. We have books, classes, and book coaching programs that illustrate how to plan your book, how to write it, how to publish it, how to pay for it, and how to market your book. So if any of those things are something that you're interested in doing, please feel free to reach out. And we're also asking you to not forget to go to Facebook and go to Ask Max Fortune on Facebook and Instagram and like those pages, and also especially our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, you can go to the Max Fortune Show, and we'll put Max Fortune Show in on YouTube and really watch this show again. Why not? And any of the other shows that we've done. And so we actually encourage you to do that, and we like to thank all the people. You can see all the little hearts flying across the screen. So thank you for all those people who are sending out love for the show. Again, we want to continue to do that. You can also get copies of some of the books, some of my books at AskMaxFortune.com. So I want to make sure I put that in there. And if you like the content that we're bringing every week, please go to AskMaxFortune.com, and you can also click on the picture for the show, and that will also take you right to our YouTube channel, and then you can subscribe to that channel. Please subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
We definitely are looking to grow that subscriber list. And what I want to do is thank you for watching the show. Terry, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you so much
Terry,
for
thank
having
you.
me. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed myself. Thank you.
So,
We appreciate you as our guest,
Thank you.
very, very much. And Joe, it's always a pleasure once again.
fun times. And I just want to say to everybody out there, stay tuned, because in the coming months, we are going to keep putting out better and better content. Max and I are very excited to debut some things coming up, and we're working very hard to make sure that we provide not only the best show with the best content, but really just the best information to help you get to where you want to go in the publishing world, in the speaking world, in the business world. And so you, the audience, really make this show what it is. Yes. You make this show possible. And so for Max, myself, and for Terry, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week, everybody.